Well, the contest for the leadership of the Liberal Party is officially on, with its members set to decide between Angus Taylor and Sussan Lee tomorrow in what's expected to be a close vote. Mr Taylor is promising to reward talent and promote women if chosen, while Ms Lee is pledging to offer strong policies and move to reflect modern Australia. Ex-National Senator Jacinta Price hopes to be Mr Taylor's deputy, while Ms Lee is running on an open ticket for their take. Let's bring in Environment Minister Tanya Plibersek and Liberal Senator Dave Sharma. Good morning. We'll start with you, Dave. Who will you be backing?
Look, I haven't made up my mind yet, and I'll declare it to them before I declare it to your viewers, if that's all right. But I think both candidates bring different attributes and different strengths to the leadership, but it's clear that they've got a pretty sizable task ahead of them to recover and rebuild after what was quite a historic election loss, let's be honest. Both
of them were pretty senior in an absolute crushing. Are they right? Or would you bring in someone like Tim Wilson that's now being thought of?
I saw that. Look, I think that will obviously be something that the party room makes a decision about. Clearly we all wear some culpability for the loss, the people at the top of the leadership, but also people like me. And I'm looking for whoever can help bring the party together, analyse our problems and be honest about some of those and offer a way forward. And I'm not sure who that will be just yet.
And is Tim Wilson ringing around?
I haven't heard from him, but I did read the article in the Australian Financial Review today.
So have you heard anything? Obviously, Sussan Lee and her people and Angus Taylor and his people are calling around. Have you heard anything from them that makes you think, I think we're onto something here about a rebuild?
Look, I think they're both honest about the scale of the challenge we face, and they're both committed, and I think this is important, to taking a collegiate approach after this leadership ballot. Whoever's elected as leader, we will, we're not big enough now, and we don't have enough of us to, break apart into warring camps or different splinter groups. We need to all pull in the same direction. So I would expect from any of the leadership candidates that they are committed to putting the best team on the field, but also making sure we work collaboratively together.
OK. Moving on, the Queensland Premier is set to ask the federal government for more funding for the Brisbane 2032 Olympics today. The state government wants up to half of the cost for transport infrastructure covered by the Albanese government, with a formal request to come in the coming days. Tanya, you guys going to chip in for more funding here?
Well, we've already chipped in quite a lot. We've already contributed around $12.4 billion to upgrades to rail, light rail, roads and so on. Of course, if there's another request from the Queensland Government, we'll consider that in the normal way through our budget processes. We want this to be a fantastic Olympics, and we've already been big contributors to make sure that it is.
Dave, what do you think should happen? Because there's obviously... We're only 7 years in, but before we need to kick off. The money's been allocated for the stadiums, but infrastructure is important too, and that will, stay forever.
Yeah, look, infrastructure will have an enduring benefit, obviously, and an economic benefit beyond just hosting the Olympics. So I think the federal government, obviously it's a decision for them, but I think they should, be open to these sorts of requests. And it's natural, it was the same in Sydney with the 2000 Olympics, for the federal and state governments to both make quite a sizable contribution with a view to the economic benefits, not just for hosting the Olympics, but for years down the track.
Tanya, it's important, isn't it? Because this is not something that is going to, be a flash in the pan. The government must be considering it and know that this approach is coming.
Well, and like I say, Nat, that's why we've been so willing to partner with the Queensland Government up till now. We've already committed $12.4 billion to Olympics-related transport infrastructure. There's some very big projects there, and they will, as Dave says, they will benefit Queensland in the long term. I also think, obviously, well-run Olympics like the Sydney Olympics are fantastic for Australia's reputation. I think, around the world, people looked at the Sydney Olympics as, absolutely top of its class in terms of these big international events, and that's great. It's great for our reputation long term.
Tanya, just before we go, the Prime Minister obviously announcing his ministry today. Do you think you'll be keeping environment?
Oh, all of these decisions are completely a matter for the Prime Minister. I was very grateful last week that my colleagues named me as one of the people who will be on the front bench, and then allocation of portfolios, 100% an issue for the PM.
What would you like?
Oh, I'm just honestly, Nat, so grateful that we won the election, so grateful to be in such a large and diverse caucus, and thrilled to be selected to be on the front bench again. I just want to make a contribution to Australia. I just want to keep doing a good job for the government and for the people of Australia.
That's a lovely answer. But you do anticipate being on the front bench. I did notice, as you say, Jim Sharma said you're an outstanding senior minister, and he expects you to have a senior portfolio. So, you know, if you were a betting woman, what would you say?
You know, Nat, the first day that I walked into Parliament House, the first day I worked there, I just thought how amazing this country is. That, you know, my parents came here as refugees in the 1950s after the Second World War, and I got elected to the Australian Parliament, and every day that I'm there I consider just the most enormous privilege, and to actually be a member of the executive is beyond anything I ever anticipated in my life. I genuinely am so grateful.
Okay, so that'll all happen today, and the big vote, Dave. We will wait to see what happens with the Liberals tomorrow. Thank you very much. 2 big days in Canberra. Here's David.